What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Hoops Betting Hour. I am the big man on campus. He's Ski Prophet. It's not Donnie Rightside, it's Ski Prophet today. We're talking about the NBA. This is the Hoops Betting Hour, as they say. So we got a couple of days off from college. We don't get the Sweet 16 until the weekend, so we figured, why not come on, talk a little NBA, go through the games here on a Wednesday. A lot of games here on a hump day, so let's break them all down. Ski, how you doing, buddy? Good to talk to you. Good to see you. It's been a while since we've worked together or did anything. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Nice to be back on here with you to talk some hoops. I think last time we had a show, consensus picks were pretty hot, so look to keep it going here today.
Yeah, we used to do a show. That was a while ago. Wow, that was when I was huge. That was like 340 pounds at that point.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thanks, Ski. Appreciate you. Yeah, that was a while ago, but we did do well. We used to do a show at 6:30 Eastern, and we would fire through the card, and we did do pretty well. That's a good point by you. I see you're doing pretty well. Look at that fireplace behind you.
I know you would like the new digs over here.
That's great. Good for you. All right, so welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on a Wednesday, the Hoops Betting Hour, presented by Pickswise and powered by FanDuel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. You're just checking out the show for the first time. Throughout the month of March, we are here talking basketball, and we didn't want to, like I said, stay away today. Why not get into the NBA? I follow the NBA. Ski's an NBA expert. Ski, would you say you're an NBA expert? I would say you're an NBA expert.
I've been following NBA since I was like pretty much born, so yeah, I would say so.
I remember the first time I met Ski Prophet. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point, Ski, out of Vegas. You were dating a girl at the time. I always remember this about Ski. Ski loves basketball so much. Him and his girl wore matching jerseys. That was memorable.
And
you remember that?
I do remember. It was pretty cool. As much as I try to forget that girl, I don't think you'll let me.
Yeah, you had Lonzo Ball jerseys on, I remember. Very cute, if I remember correctly.
I mean, it was pretty cool. I thought it was a good thing to do.
Yeah, Ski sounded like a nice boyfriend. Good for him. All right, let's get into the games here. But I want to ask you first about free agency. Free agency coming up here. Obviously, one of the big players to possibly move is Kyle Lowry up in Toronto. Toronto's struggling right now. I mean, this team is really kind of a shell of where they were just a couple of years ago. They've lost 9 of 10 overall. And now not only Kyle Lowry might be on the move, Norman Powell might be on the move as well. There's favorites to get Norman Powell or to get Lowry are the Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I, for one, as you know, am a Sixer fan. I would like to see Lowry here. I think the good thing about him is you don't have to substitute, his defense because he plays offense or vice versa. He is a two-way player. He does a great job on both ends. He is 34 years old, but I think we still know he's still a great player. He's still a really tough kid. That's what he's always been. He's from Philadelphia. The Sixers seem mum on wanting to give up Matisse Thybulle in the deal, which I get. Matisse Thybulle is a great defender, but at the end of the day, I feel like the Sixers are always stuck in this whole thing of, we got to let players develop. We got to get draft picks. At what point do you just go for it? Kyle Lowry probably makes you the number one team in the East for sure.
They're already the number one team
exactly.
in the East.
But he puts you over the top on paper as well.
I know you're not. I mean, I'm not sure if it's changed yet, but I don't think you used to like Simmons that much. Are you saying you would prefer Lowry over Simmons?
Yeah, because I think, at the end of the day, I've seen Simmons play at the 4 and at different positions, and I think he's, could be better off there. Look, ultimately he's had a great year, but I'm not saying that the Sixers aren't the best team in the East right now, but I think when the rubber meets the road, I think Kyle Lowry gives you a better opportunity to win games late. At the end of the day, they still don't have a guy on this team that if this is Game 7 of the East Conference Finals and they're down 102, 101, do you have I guess you have Joel Embiid, but do you have a guy that can make a shot?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they have plenty. Like I've told you, I was really high on the Sixers team to start the year. I wouldn't really want Kyle Lowry over there. I mean, Ben Simmons, he's been great as far as on the defensive end. He's been great keeping the team going offensively. And Tobias Harris has been playing pretty well. Seth Curry, he's an amazing shooter.
Danny Green has been good also.
So I trust these other guys. I mean, they're number one in the East right now without Embiid. I think when he comes back, they'll be solid. The thing with Kyle Lowry for me, I'm more so scared of him going to a team like the Clippers, because that's a team I think desperately needs a point guard and a leader and somebody to get easier shots for Kawhi and Paul George. So I would hate to see him go there just as a Laker fan, but I think it's a good fit for him. Maybe even Miami, but we'll see.
Yeah, you made some good points. I mean, I was skeptical about this roster because, it was guys that, like Danny Green, who, out in LA. I mean, he had a terrible year last year. I mean, and he's had kind of a lowering a bar as far as his career, but he's played really well. The bench is better. There's a lot to like, but we'll see if they do the deal. It seems like they're not willing to give up Thibault. And that seems like something that Toronto wants back in return, and they should, because he fits the profile of a Toronto player. But free agency will be interesting. Obviously, make sure you have Woj followed. You don't want to miss any Woj bombs, as they say. But Ski, what do you say we get into some of these games? Before we do that, I want to tell everybody quickly about the Capper contest over at Pickswise. We're doing a Capper contest for the March Madness NCAA tournament. It's me and multiple other handicappers, John Rothstein, Megan Making Money, Rashard Phillips, all sorts of different people. And we're doing a contest. We pick a few games each day. Each day there's games, and we kind of duke it out. We try to pick our best bets, and by the end, whoever has the most points wins $10,000. Make sure you're following the contest over at Pickswise. I believe Megan Making Money is leading the contest right now, but still plenty of game left, as they say. This will be a big weekend. You got basically 2 days of games. You get 2 points for each best bet you hit. So there's still a lot of moving around to do. I have 7 points. Megan Make Money has 11. So I'm in striking distance to win that prize. But we also have a guy in the contest, Ski. They picked one listener. He's a mailman from Pittsburgh. I'd love to see him probably win the tournament, if not for me. But we still have plenty of tournament to go, so we'll see how it goes. Ski, let's get into some of these games here on a Wednesday. We'll start it off. There are some injury questions, which we'll get into as we go through games here. So if you have a comment or question on anything, feel free to let it in. We'll jump into it late in the broadcast. We'll answer some of your questions if you have it. First game, 7:15 Eastern time. Detroit Pistons head on the road to take on the Indiana Pacers. Pacers currently 6. No total in this game at FanDuel for some reason. Obviously, I think the questions are going to be whether Malcolm Brogdon plays in this game. There's some question marks of injuries for the Pacers. Ski, sometimes how I look at games, sometimes I'm going to get in bed with some bad teams. I've noticed in the NBA over the years that sometimes the public overreacts and how bad teams really are. And I think the Detroit Pistons are an interesting look into that. The Detroit Pistons are 12-30 this year, okay? But against the spread, 22-19-1. So they've actually been a very good bet. They're actually a top 10 almost ATS team. So I think they're kind of case in point of what sometimes you want to look for. I feel like the Indiana Pacers are a little overvalued, particularly with the question marks surrounding whether Malcolm Brogdon plays or not. I have some interest here in Detroit, and I think this is the best price I'm going to get on them. At the end of the day, are they good? No. But I like Jeremy Grant. I like the fact that they are scrappy and they cover numbers. And we're getting basically, almost 3 possessions here. I told you at the beginning of the year, I thought this roster was a little bit better than people thought it was. Offensively, they'd not been as good, and they traded away Blake Griffin. I didn't think that was the worst thing for them to do. At the end of the day, I don't love backing Detroit, but I think in a spot like this, I don't hate taking 6, especially with the question marks surrounding Brogdon. What do you think here?
Well, you talked mostly about the Detroit side, so I'll start with Indiana, and I'll say it's not really the role that I want Indiana in. And I also say that, I think Indiana is going to be a buy-on team somewhere in the near future once LeVert is comfortable and they get things going again. But I like Indiana when they're on the road, when they're playing one of these lesser competition teams, but you get a discount when they're on the road. When they're at home, you don't get that discount. So I look at them as a home favorite. They're 5-10 against the spread. They've only covered 3 of their last 13 games. Detroit, they've been playing better lately. They've covered 4 of their last 6. And I will say teams that I usually like to back, I like to back teams to bounce back after being embarrassed as a home dog. That's Detroit. It gets a little bit better if they're a road dog, which Detroit is. Those teams are 30-14-1 against the spread. That's good for 68.2%. And I believe that's going back to Christmas of 2019. So I'm with you. I like Detroit.
Yeah, it's just too many points here, especially for an Indiana team that 18th in offensive efficiency in the NBA. Just haven't been that, and that's kind of been the normal. Not good enough offensively. So for me, I'm going to rock with that. I think we kind of are in agreement here, taking a shot with the home dog. And good point on the last game out. They were embarrassed, and that was ugly. Against the Chicago Bulls. Only scored 86 points, got rocked by 14. It was a low-scoring game, but Detroit just didn't play real well. You expect a nice bounce back here. Had a few nights off to get their bearings, and laying points here at home. I'm not enthralled by that. So I like Detroit as well. Let's jump into the next one here. Boston headed on the road to take on the Milwaukee Bucks, who the Bucks are rolling right now. Bucks currently, they're laying 4.5 at FanDuel, another game with no total. Keep in mind, this one was bet down. It was at 5 at one point. We don't know what Giannis Antetokounmpo's status is. However, this could be the indication that maybe he's not going to play. 5 to 4.5. You don't normally see that on a game that he's going to play, and they've won 7 in a row, won 9 of 10 overall. Bucks are rolling. Offense has been terrific. I think they're averaging over the last 3 or 4 games. Their offensive efficiency is crazy high, and we know how good Giannis is playing right now. He's averaging almost 30 points a game. It's hard to touch this game without Giannis's status, right?
I agree, but I've been watching this line all morning, and so I saw it down at 3.5 sometime earlier. It went up to 5, went down to 4.5. So. I mean, I want Giannis in this matchup if I'm going to take the Bucks. I think that maybe signals he's going to play. But in general, just looking at this game, Boston, they've been terrible. They've only won one of their last 5 games. At some point, they'll turn it around, but they got to fix up that defense. They gave up 80 points in the paint to the Grizzlies. And when you're playing teams, like, for example, we know if Giannis plays, they're going to feast in the paint. And Boston doesn't really have anybody to stop them. So it really depends on his status, but Milwaukee is really the only way I would look if he is in the lineup.
Yeah, not a norm from Boston. Usually a very good defensive team. This year really have struggled on that end. And, it's not exactly a great mix when you have, the Bucks coming in. Jrue Holiday's looked really good for the Bucks here. He's kind of been the big difference that team. He's averaging 15 points a game. It's just kind of a big get for them because, the last couple of years, outside of Middleton and Giannis, they just haven't had that much excitement. Jrue Holiday gives that excitement. Always been a very good NBA player. I think he's helped them.
Much better than Bledsoe.
Exactly. Right. It's a major advantage there. Thanks, everybody, for listening. A couple of comments here. John Chow says, what's up, Ski Prophet? Good to see Ski Prophet back. I love seeing Ski Prophet. Ski's one of my favorite NBA people. When Pickswise said, hey, we want to do some NBA, want to see how it's going to work, I said, gotta call Ski Prophet. And let me tell you something. Shout out to Ski Prophet. Ski, what time is it currently where you are?
It's 6:15 a.m. So
how about that? And I know
early.
he was up way earlier than 5:50 or 5:55 because he retweeted some of the stuff we were putting out. So shout out to Ski Prophet. I told when they said to me, hey, get Ski on, I said, I would love to get Ski on. I said, but I don't know if he's gonna come on because of the time. It's super early. It's crazy. But I called Ski, and he said, you know what? I'm in. I got you. Ski is the reason Ski does well, and I've always said this, and it's some of the part of the reason that I've done well over the years, is I'm willing to do a show anytime, anywhere, any place. And Ski is as well. He's always willing to work and talk about the NBA. He could say, you know what, Jeff? I don't know. It's 6 o'clock. I'd rather sleep. But he's up and at him. Early bird catches the worm, as Marlo Stanfield said. Remember?
Oh, man, boy, Marlo, The Wire, the best show ever. But I appreciate the kind words, Jeff. I'm always going to be available. Yeah,
thanks, man. Yeah, if you remember in the scene, Michael was screwing around when he was just starting to work for them, and Marlo walks in and goes, "Early bird catches that worm." All right, Chris Carter says, "I love NBA Ski's NBA talk and his calm demeanor at 9 a.m. Well, for him, it's 6 a.m. So you would understand why he's calm and got the calm demeanor. Denver. The Mile High Denver Nuggets are headed on the road to take on the Toronto Raptors. We just talked about the Raptors and how kind of I think this team is signaling that they're sellers. We know they're sellers at the deadline. Nuggets laying 2 total at in this game at FanDuel, 224.5. Denver a slight 130 favorite on the money line. Ski, when I was handicapping, this numbers went up from 1 to 2. You obviously understand the move up. Denver's playing well, won 7 of 10. The problem that you have here is Toronto's kind of a shell of where they've been. Neither team really defends. They're both kind of middle of the pack or below average defensively. One thing about Denver you're always going to get, you're never going to get a fast pace. They play one of the slower paces in the league, but they're extremely efficient, always top 5 in offensive efficiency. The possessions are long, and you're going to want to rip your hair out because at 22 seconds, they're still holding on to the ball, but they make shots. Nikola Jokic. Jokic is a tough player to watch if you bet overs, but you almost love him because he does make shots, but he's so slow and just lumbering around. It's like, go, go, go. But, at the end of the day, I think for me, Denver's playing really well. Toronto's not playing well. We know how much they're sellers. Both teams have been good to the over this year. And as we know, you always know in the NBA at the end of the day, Ski, you're going to get pretty good offense. I think Toronto can be good enough here offensively. Do you have any interest in going over here? Is the total too high? It has been bet up a little bit, which I don't love. I kind of want to get in on the totals before they move. It was 230 last night. It's been all the way bet up to 232.5. Do you just kind of say right now, I want to just play the Nuggets, but why are the Nuggets only 2-point favorites here? It's a little concerning.
Well, the total, if it's 230, I don't really think you're getting a discount. But at the same time, like you said, Nuggets extremely efficient on offense. And in this matchup, what I would say is Toronto, not that great defending the perimeter. Nuggets, pretty good three-point shooting team. So if I had to play the total, I would probably lean more towards an over, even with that slow pace for the Nuggets. As far as the side, just like we mentioned Toronto earlier, their team, I usually like to fade teams that have lost 5 or more games in a row. And that's Toronto today. Those teams so far this year, they're 18-35 against the spread if you continually fade them. So I think they're sellers. I think that they could be making some moves today before the deadline.
Right.
Definitely a team I want to avoid. I would not be back in Toronto. For the Denver side, I would like them. The only thing I do not like is they played pretty heavy minutes yesterday. Like I think Murray played like 37, Jokic maybe even 37 as well. So I lean Denver. I may look at a prop here. Speaking of the minutes that those guys have played, Toronto, for as bad as they've been, they've allowed the fewest. A few days ago, it was the fewest. I believe it's still that way. The fewest 30-point games to players. So I would look towards Murray or Jokic. And who do I think is going to have a lower scoring game? Murray's 21.5. Jokic is 25.5. I tend to think that it would be Murray. So that's the way that I lean right now. I do a little bit more work after the show, but I'm liking Murray under 21.5 points.
Ski, a big prop guy, does everything NBA. You made a good point. I think Toronto, one thing someone mentioned in the chat, Toronto shoot a lot of three-pointers. They do. I think about 46 of their points as far as their average come from the three-point line. They're very dependent on the three-point shot. And that's the signal sometimes of a team they're just jacking up shots. They don't want to, you're not willing to run plays. Maybe they've given up a little bit. You've mentioned you don't want to be kind of on Toronto here and you see some moves made because the morale of this team is going to be low as it is. It's a weird game because, in any other day, so let's say this game's 2 or 3 days ago, Ski, I'd be looking towards Toronto here because the number just seems doesn't make any sense. I think a lot of the bettors are going to come in and take the Nuggets here. But even that, I think the books get beat up with this game just because I just don't see where the Raptors have any real interest in me and wanting to bet them. You also mentioned Denver, a very good three-point defense, top 8, I believe, in three-point defense this year. So there's a couple of things to like about both sides. But at the end of the day, the morale and where the Toronto Raptors are going doesn't seem too positive right now.
Let me mention one more thing really quick. I did mention I like to fade teams that have lost 5 or more games in a row. Just looking at the point spread, you're pretty much asking them to win, right? So those teams so far this year, if you continually fade them, 14-40 straight up. And if you're looking at them when they play teams on the second of a back-to-back, they're 3-7 straight up and against the spread. So hasn't really mattered if the other team is rested or not. If a team is playing bad, they just continue to free fall.
Yeah, I've grown more and more into the suspicion that, and this might be crazy. I know sometimes with the NBA you just have to kind of stay tuned to what's going on, but a lot of the time, back to backs. I mean, it is still. I mean, I just don't know how much it really. I'd love to look at long-term stats on back to backs on whether they actually are that important. I think in the NBA they might be a little bit more important because people just aren't as interested, maybe. But do you truly believe it affects them athletically? I don't.
Let's say if it's just one back-to-back, I don't think so. But if you're getting like 3 games in 4 nights,
sure.
You know what I'm saying, 4 and 6, then yeah, I think it catches up.
Sure. And it's really, like I said, it's not necessarily about athletics, about their athletic talent. It's about the fact that, they just don't care, maybe, All right, let's move on. So you're leaning Nuggets like me. I'd have to lean. To be honest, the first couple of games here, whether it's the first 3 we've talked about, the only one that I really have a lot of interest in is I do like Detroit. I think the Pistons make a lot of sense here.
And I'll tell you, that's the one I've locked in 2 bets so far today already, and that's one of them.
Yeah. Charlotte headed on the road to take on Houston Rockets. Houston currently a 3.5-point dog, total 223. Look, we know what's going on with the Hornets right now. No LaMelo Ball for the foreseeable future. Definitely sucks. I mean, he had taken the league by storm, really looked like the rookie of the year, was killing it for the Charlotte Hornets. But you look at since he's kind of – the minute he left the offense, they went much slower, like 5 possessions slower per game. So that's kind of an indication of, I think, where they're going. I think they're going to struggle to make shots. The offense isn't going to look as crisp and fun. This is a Houston team, as we know, bad. Houston's lost 9 of 10. It seems like every time I look at the Houston Raptors or Houston Rockets, they've lost 9 of 10 or 8 of 10, or they've lost 7 in a row. This team sucks. We know that. They're one of the worst in the league. But I will say one thing about Houston, and it is honorable. Defensively, they're actually not bad. They do a pretty good job on the defensive end. Charlotte, as I said, tempo is much slower. I kind of wish I would have got the opener of this. It was 225. I'm still finding out, I feel like this game still goes under. I don't think there's no pace to this game. I think it's very deliberate. I think that the Hornets are going to be much slower without Ball, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
I agree. So let me say a couple of things here. This Houston team, I've kind of said I've been riding the same thought for forever, but as soon as Christian Wood went out, I said I want no parts of Houston Rockets until he comes back. They played poor. They lost 20 games in a row. I said he's coming back. I still don't want him. So we'll see if they can turn it around now. Still, even then, I don't really want to look towards the Houston side. As far as Charlotte, I would love them if LaMelo was in the lineup. Without him, it makes it a little bit tougher. I will say teams like on these long road trips, when they lost like maybe the first 3, then they win 1, and they're on the road still, I tend to think that they try to finish out the road trip strong. So I still maybe lean a little bit towards Charlotte. Houston's on my hell no list. I just literally cannot bet them. And Charlotte, the total, I said the same thing for LaMelo. He got kind of the starting nod in January. And, they played a lot faster, and as a result, they played a lot better. So without him, they've already kind of been trending under. I agree with you. I think we see a slower pace from their side. I still think Houston wants to defend and get out and run, but I was looking towards under the total here too. For me, if I'm playing this one, is Charlotte or the under. The number I made for the total was 222.5. So if it's still above that, I still would like it.
Yeah, you look at Houston this year, 25-16 to the under. So at any rate, they're kind of the perfect team you want for an under. They play pretty good defense, and they don't score. Outside of John Wall, this roster sucks. Christian Wood is a pretty decent player, but outside of that, this roster is terrible. There's not much here. No one wants to play there. They're just kind of – I think people are just out. The city's out. Everyone's out on the Rockets. Paul Ramirez says maybe Rockets turn a corner. They're
Put your money on it if you want to.
Yeah. You don't really see – I think the whole if you've ever seen Major League, where teams like that movie where they're horrible and they just turn this crazy movie corner and win the AL pennant. I don't think Houston's going to do that. They just kind of, I think, are what they are. No LaMelo hurts, but I think what that signals is lower scoring games. Their possessions are much longer. You're not going to see as many opportunities.
It took for the coach to start crying for Houston to win a game, Jeff.
I didn't see that. He did.
Yeah, in the post-game interview, like he's really stressed out, like, I gotta do better. He's like crying in the interview.
Whoa, really? I never saw that. Steven Silas did that, really?
Right before they won their last game.
Yikes. I don't think it's his fault. I mean, he's a young coach. It's not his fault.
Right.
Why get that worried? Wow. I guess he doesn't want to get fired. But there's no reason to cry. I mean, it's your first year. Well, I got to check that out. I didn't see that.
Yeah, other people were reaching out to him. Other coaches and stuff were reaching out to him. So you got to check it out.
Yeah, I got to check that out. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're getting emotional here. So yeah, I lean under 223. I think Ski makes some good points. I don't really want to play it much lower. As I said, it was a 225. If you jumped in overnight, you kind of you would obviously get the best number. Ski, when do you handicap? You handicap the night before?
Night before, I do a little bit of work. Then I wake up and see where the numbers are. Maybe do a little bit more work, see if I put something in, and then continue working. And a little bit later, like we get 3 injury reports throughout the day. I just continually check.
Yeah, move around, sure. All right, next one. This should be a great game. Can't wait. Chicago hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Chicago 6. Total is 217. Bulls, much better this year. Offensively, they've been good. They've been really good against the number. There's been kind of an infusion in this offense this year. They're fun to watch. They're young. We know how young they are. I think I heard a stat when in college that the Wisconsin Badgers team was older than the Bulls. That's how young the Chicago Bulls are. So, they're a fun, exciting team. They're not, they're not going to win a title, but they're getting there. There's excitement around them. Thad Young and Zach LaVine and Kobe White and Markkanen and all these different guys. There's plenty of kids on this team that can run and they play great basketball. They're fun to watch. They're aesthetically pleasing, as they say. Cleveland suck. LeBron James ain't walking through the door anytime soon. One of the worst teams in the league against the number. I don't know. I mean, I like the Bulls more in like a dog role. I don't have much real interest in playing them as a favorite. Keep in mind as well, the public knows that the Bulls are good against the spread. Okay. I mean, nobody's surprised by it. Everyone knows Cleveland sucks against the spread. I get a weird feeling Cleveland kind of hangs around here, but I've noticed with Cleveland, you could try to get cute with them all you want. At the end of the day, they just aren't any good. And they've been terrible against the number. So I'm going to pass on this one. No real interest. I will say I don't really have a lot of infatuation with laying points with the Bulls.
Yeah, this is my least favorite game of the day. And I'll talk about roles that I like teams in. Cleveland, I really don't want any parts of them in general, but I definitely don't want them on the road. If I'm going to back Cleveland, it has to be at home. And for the Bulls, I don't want them laying points. I don't want them at home. The role for the Bulls has been as a road dog. When you're backing them as a road dog, as long as they're rested, they've covered all 11 games. So it's a game that I can easily stay away from. If I had to play the total, I would probably lean towards an over. I don't really see much defense in this game. I know Chicago will probably play a little bit more up-tempo. And I have to pick a side, I would go with Chicago just because I trust them more than I trust this Cleveland team. Just simple. But they could be making some moves today, so it's a game I'm still going to avoid.
Cleveland 5-15 on the road this year against the number. Not good. In fact, terrible. Tiburon's checking in from Mexico. Shout out Tiburon. Stay safe in Mexico, man. Mexico's a crazy place, Ski. Have you ever been to Mexico?
I have not. I was supposed to go last year, but I didn't make it because COVID and everything.
Yeah. So, Ski, I want to tell you a really quick story. One time, I think it was 2008, 2009. It was a long time ago. I was barely 18, 19 years old. I had a friend from this area that went out to San Diego to go to college. Went to San Diego State. I go out there to see him for like 4 or 5 days, and he says, I get into town. Beautiful. Love San Diego. Really nice, clean. Weather was great. wouldn't you want to hang out and stay in San Diego? I thought, yeah, for sure. His boy comes in the room and goes, hey, you want to go to Tijuana tonight? I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. I never been to Mexico. That would be cool. I said, are we going to drive? What are we going to do? He says, no. He said, we'll park at the border and walk in. I said, okay.
Is that easy?
Bro, I was blown away. It was one of the wildest, weirdest nights I've ever had in my life. You go down there, it's you literally walk in. There's no one there. It's just like a point in the earth. Like there's not even any fence. You just walk through this like broken turnstile kind of thing. And even coming back like from Mexico, it wasn't that difficult. I literally just showed them my PA ID and they were like, all right, you're in.
Maybe it's a little bit harder now. I don't know.
Oh, it's probably way harder now. That was a pretty long time ago. But yeah, it was a wild place. I mean, a lot of narcotraficante down there, if you know what I mean. A lot of drugs and that kind of stuff. But yeah, they treat you like a king if you're an American there. So
yeah,
I wouldn't recommend going there. But what was that?
Isn't our money worth more here than there?
Oh yeah, the money's worth like $1 here is worth like 9.5 there.
Wow.
So yeah, like you can get a great meal for like you can go to like a taco kind of spot and get like a really great meal for like $2-3.
I might have to go live it up out there.
You could. That was the thing. Like you could get like a dope like beachfront spot in Rosarito, which is like a beach area, for like $250. Like,
oh, wow,
pretty dope. Yeah. So shout out to Tiburon. We went off on a little tangent about Tijuana. I wouldn't recommend going there now. It's probably pretty dangerous. Mexico's a dangerous place. So stay safe, Tiburon. Thanks for listening, man. Blaze Towns fan says, what up, guys? Great show. Thanks, man. Appreciate you checking out the show. Let's keep it moving, Ski, here. This is a good one. Dallas, the Mavericks, headed on the road to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dallas laying 8, total 231. We know Dallas suck, 10-33. So think about this, Ski. For as bad as the Houston Rockets are, they're not as bad as Minnesota. Minnesota is I believe, the worst team in the league. Yeah, the worst team in the league, 10-33. It's been a long season for Karl Anthony Towns and the boys. It doesn't matter where they play, road, at home, they suck. They've lost 7 of 10 overall. It's not been good for them. And, I think the issue here you have is you kind of want to lay the points at the Mavs just because the Timberwolves are so inept. But as we know with Dallas, they've gotten a little bit better defensively, but all in all, not very good anyway, still bad. What do you like here? Do you like any side? Do you like any total here? Dallas playing well, but he's always still kind of worried about the defensive issues for the Mavs. Bringing in a guy like Josh Richardson, it's helped a little bit, but all in all, man, they're still 24th in the league in defensive efficiency. It's not helped that much.
Yeah, if I'm playing a Minnesota total, I mean, I think I have to look towards an over. They want to play fast, and they don't want to play any defense. So Dallas, their defense has kind of been, I'll say struggling, just because I can't think of whatever word I want to use. But I really don't trust either defense in this game. So for that reason, I lean towards an over. If I have to pick a side, like you said, Minnesota it seems like we're almost used to this poor performance from Minnesota year in and year out. So it doesn't seem like they're as bad as the Houston Rockets, but I would have to try to lean towards Dallas. Don't love it. I actually would look more towards a Doncic prop. Minnesota allowing the most 30-point games in the league to players this year, and Doncic's prop is at 29.5. He's had, I know, over 25 the last 4 or 5 games. So against a Minnesota team who's not playing really any defense, I think he can get 30. So that's my best look on this game.
It's never a bad idea to get involved with Luka Doncic props. You look at the last 3 games for Luka, 37, 38, 42. That's just recently. We could throw in the fact that, on the year he's averaging 29. You really just need him to get his average. I've said, Ski, as a handicapper, I'm pretty old school. I just bet kind of sides and totals, team totals occasionally, halves occasionally. But, the prop market continues to be a very interesting market. I think in this game, it's very difficult to look on both sides. Neither are good against the number. I don't really trust Dallas defensively. I know Minnesota suck. I think you make a really astute point, and it's pretty simple. All I need is Luka to score. I know the Minnesota Timberwolves can't defend. I just need him to get to his average, basically. I'm going to agree with you. I think that's a really solid pick, and I'm going to rock with it. I'm going to go rudimentary and basic, and I'm sure the trolls are going to say, oh, great pick, big man. That's real tough. Yeah, well, I'm rocking with it. What is it, 29.5 you have?
Yeah, it was 29.5 right before the show I checked.
That's great. And I'm going to rock with it here. Luka Doncic. Shout out to Luka. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic over 29.5. I like that play. I didn't love this game, but I definitely like that. Let's keep it going here. Let's keep it going. Memphis, the Grizzlies, head on the road to take on the Thunder. Memphis at 5, total 223. Not going to lie. I mean, Memphis is pretty good against. I mean, they've been very good against the spread. One of the better teams in the league. I just didn't have much in this game. I mean, just two teams that I just don't really want to back. What do you like in this game? Anything?
Well, for one, I'll say with OKC, the road that I like them in is not at home. I like their road warriors. Going back to last year, you think about it could be all Chris Paul, but it hasn't been. On the road with one or less days rest, I want to say now they are 34-11 against the spread. That's off the top of my head since about maybe November-ish of last season. And this year, I believe it's 13-4, somewhere around those numbers. So it's continued this year. At home, I don't love them. They're 8-11 as a home dog. So that combined with my opinion is a flat spot for OKC coming home after four-game road trip. Teams in that spot are 53-74 against the spread since the beginning of last season. I would have to look towards Memphis. They've been playing good basketball lately. They've been better offensively, defensively. They have a rebounding advantage. They've covered 8 out of their last 11. I don't see why they can't make it 9 here today.
One handicapping angle that I do like to bet on, one thing I've talked to you about it before. You love teams coming off long road trips, 8, 9 games. This is not really a long road, 4 games. I think it's a decent angle tonight, where you kind of lean with Memphis just because they have been very good against the number. OKC is coming off a little bit of a road trip. That is one. And I'll kind of talk a little bit more. When you have a team like an NBA team coming off a long road trip, you got to come home. We have to remember, these are people. These are human beings at the end of the day. They have a lot going on in their life. They're NBA players. They got to worry about their life. Now with coronavirus, there's all sorts of different things you're worrying about. Your anxiety is just up. I think we could all agree that your anxiety is just a little bit higher due to coronavirus. You don't want to get the virus. You kind of are just a little bit more, worrisome. But you also have your wife. You have your kids. You have, your home. You have your side chick who, she wants, to see you. You got a lot going on, and that stuff affects these guys. And Scheme made it very clear with kind of the coming off the long road trip. This isn't a crazy long road trip. I look more or less like 7, 8, 9 games, but it's still a decent angle with OKC fading them tonight. So
I agree with you. And I'll say I've done the numbers, and you're right. When it's a 5 or more game road trip, it's a lot better than when it's 4 or less.
Sure. It's simple. You go on a 2-week vacation, you got to prepare a lot more than if you go on a 4 or 5 day vacation. So, but yeah, these are NBA players. They have a lot more going on than we might think. I think people just kind of assume they're robotic and just all they do is play basketball and they're in a bubble. They're not in a bubble right now.
Look at Kyrie. Kyrie treats it like a job. It's his birthday. He said, I'm taking 3 days off.
He's a lunatic, though. That's what he does. But if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out what we're doing here. Obviously, I know a lot of people come here for college basketball opinions. We're trying out the NBA stuff. There's no college basketball today. What do you want me to do? You want me to pull games? You want to make stuff up? I can't, unfortunately. Someone asked where Donnie is. Donnie's just taking a couple of days. He's not a big NBA bettor, so I had to bring in someone, and he talked about that yesterday. We got to bring in the best of the best, and I brought in Ski. All right, let's go to the next game. This is one that obviously there's going to be a sharp public split here, I'd imagine. The Phoenix Suns are the best team in the NBA against the spread. Now, I'm sure you're saying, all right, well, good. I want to back them. And Ski, let me ask you a question. I remember we talked right before the season started, and I remember telling you I thought Phoenix was a great future pick. I thought they were a team that would compete in the West, like compete. Here we are, March 24th, and they're second in the Western Conference. Are they a legitimate contender? Do you believe they can win the title?
Do I believe they can win the title?
Yeah.
No, but I understand why they're going on this great winning streak and point spread run. I think I've made some sense of it.
Yeah, it's impressive, man. It really is. And when you look, what's so impressive, I think, about the Suns and they're covering these numbers is you look at the numbers they're laying. So go back just like recently. Yeah, they're wearing 10 against the Lakers, one big. We're laying 11 against Minnesota, one by 12. 7.5, 12.5, 10. I mean, they're laying big numbers and they're covering these big numbers. So it doesn't bode well for a Magic team that when brass tacks, you look at the roster, they suck. I mean, the Magic suck. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're not going to be one of these teams that takes the Bucks to, a few more games than they should. This team isn't good. I mean, at the end of the day, they're in the basement of the Eastern Conference, of an Eastern Conference that's, good, not great. This team's 14-29. They're not good. They lost 9 of 10. I don't really love laying double digits in the NBA. In fact, I ultimately never do it. But it's hard to not look towards the Suns here. I mean, this team is rolling right now, and they're covering a lot of big numbers.
I wanted to reach over here and type it in the SDQL, but I did see a stat like a couple of days ago. Those double-digit favorites this year have been cashing at a really good rate.
Which I think is a testament to just teams are just kind of unprepared. There was a year, I want to say it was right before the pandemic. So it would be late 2019. So like right at the beginning of the season to like the new year. I mean, every double-digit underdog was coming in. Everyone. Like you could grab 13 with any team and you were coming in. But this year, and I think that's a really astute point, it seems like the focus is there. It seems like teams are a little bit quicker to say, you know what? Our morale is not there right now. We're 1-9 over the last 10. We're 14-29. Our roster isn't good, and they're just not up for the task. As I said, I don't love laying 10, but this seems like a mighty good spot to do it.
Let me ask you a question before I really start, big man.
Yeah.
Straight up, do you think Phoenix wins this game?
Of course.
All right. Well, every single game that Phoenix has won, they have covered. Every single game they failed to cover, they've lost. So, I mean, it's crazy to think of it that simple, but I don't really see any way to go against Phoenix. They're 8-1 on the second of a back-to-back. The Magic, the only thing I'll say is they're a little bit healthier now than they were in the beginning of the year, but still, to go against this Phoenix team, it's just not something I want to do. The line I made for this game is closer to that 13 number that you said, so it can keep climbing up, and I still think there's value. I'll mention this, and I prefer like league-wide trends rather than team. But I look at the Magic, and I just think, like, for years, they've been bad. They've been terrible. Like, you hear Aaron Gordon has been frustrated for forever. He wants out. Vucevic, hopefully they trade him because he could help out a contender. So, for one, I think there could be some moves made before the deadline. And the trend I want to mention is the Magic, with 1 or less days rest as a home dog, just facing competition, 55% win teams or more. And I think this is back to the beginning of last season, or maybe somewhere in the middle of last season, but 2-15 against the spread with an average line of 7.2. They lost, and when their opponent was on the second of a back-to-back, which Phoenix is, it only happened 2 times. They lost those games by 20 points. So I don't see why you go against it. I think Phoenix will be the play here for me.
Orlando is a fascinating place because, it's in Florida. It's nice. Everything's great. They haven't really, they've been kind of around, they're a playoff team. They've had some good teams, back in the day with Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu, and they've had some great teams. It's kind of interesting that they're not more of a destination for people. I guess people just kind of, when you think Orlando, you think kids and like Disney World, and this is kind of a touristy place. Don't you think it's interesting how it's not a destination like Miami is for players? Like,
you would think it should be. You think it should be, but when you see a team struggling so bad year after year, you probably don't want to go there.
Yeah, they're just kind of, and I think they're kind of in the Charlotte basement at this point, where they're, they had to kind of go that route, and they're gonna have to get a kind of LaMelo Ball type of player to kind of rectify where they are. But yeah, I mean, a lot of good stuff, a lot of reasoning to back the Suns here. I can't disagree with it. And keep in mind, look how much better the Suns are defensively. I mean, on average last year, they were like 12th or 13th defensively, pretty good. Bubble, they were bad. You look at this year. I mean, top 5 in defensive efficiency. They're very good defensively. Adding guys like Jay Crowder has helped. Mikal Bridges, great defensive player. They're just really solid, man. I love the Suns. I'm a big fan of this team.
I forgot to mention. So I did say I made sense of their point spread run, or at least a little bit. Like if I have to point to one reason why I think they're having this point spread success, is because they shoot the 3 extremely well and they defend the 3. So if you're getting 3s and your opponent can only get 2s, you're probably going to win by margin majority of the time.
And pretty basic math, but 3 is more than 2. I know some people might struggle with that, but that's true. This is the Hoops Betting Hour. I'm the big man on campus. He's Ski Prophet. Thanks for joining us. A couple more games here, and then we'll, quick and simple, get it out of here. We want to get back to consensus plays at the end of the show, Ski? Let's do that. Let's go back to consensus. We'll give a couple plays that we really like here throughout the card. We've been doing that, but we'll wrap it up here at the end. All right, 3 more games. Atlanta headed on the road to take on the Sacramento Kings. Atlanta 3, total 236. Ski, I've made the case. I think Sacramento could be one of the worst defensive teams I've ever seen at this level. Historically bad. I mean, it's really, really, really hard to watch. But I will say this about Sacramento. They're exciting. I mean, they shoot it from all over the place. De'Aaron Fox is electric. You just kind of like what they do on the end. They're a really good over team. I mean, they score a lot of points, but, sometimes the numbers are a little high. One thing I will say about Atlanta, and you called this. You talked about how good you thought Atlanta was going to be this year. They've really made an ascension. I mean, this group is 4th in the East right now, folks. They're playing great basketball. They've won 8 of 10 overall. There's really – and what you like about Atlanta right now, Ski, is at least in the other night against the Clippers, but you look at the scoring, the balance. Snell's playing well. Collins is playing well. Clint Capella's playing well. Trae Young's playing at a normal level. You're getting great bench scoring. Guys are coming in and doing some good things. And you look at kind of just by adding one player, what it does for your defensive metrics. Clint Capella just makes them a much better team. They even themselves out a little bit. And I think put them over the top in games like this, where you have a completely lost team on the other side. Sometimes defense is the optimal way that you can cover games, and you're just a little bit better. And, I lean with Hawks here. I lean with the Hawks here. I like the way they're playing right now. It's not on the top of my card here, but I think the Kings are just dreadful defensively. Dreadful.
Yeah, when I look at Atlanta, like you said, I was pretty high on them coming into the year. They started out hot, then they kind of had a little drought, but they didn't like Lloyd Pierce. As soon as he got fired, what did they win? 8 games in a row? I was
surprised by that because Lloyd Pierce, I thought, was a pretty good coach. I mean, I feel like they just hired him, but
the players didn't like him. You see, the first game he's out, like I think even Bogdanovich finally made an appearance in that first game. Like the people really didn't like him. I think Collins didn't sign an extension because he didn't like the coach too. So as soon as he's out, Nick McMillan's in, they start to play harder. They play defense. They're winning games. They did lose to the Clippers, but Atlanta is still a team I think that I can buy on. As you mentioned, all of the players, they're really deep. They've covered 5 of their last 6 games. They beat up on lesser competition a little bit. Sacramento, when I look at the roster, I think they should be better than they are. There was a stretch where they were winning some games this year, and because they're playing defense, like their defensive rating was a top 10 during that stretch they're winning games. And so in my mind, I think it's more of an effort thing. I'm not sure why they don't play defense, but they're terrible. They can't do it consistently. So I agree. I like Atlanta in this one. It's also a flat spot coming off the long road trip, and this one is 5 games or more. So it should be one of those ones that you like, big man. And so I like Atlanta. And as far as the total, if Sacramento's going to play fast, their offense is pretty good. They're not going to play any defense. I would lean towards over rather than anything else. But one play for me, I would pick Atlanta. Flat spot, and Sacramento also plays tomorrow.
Shout out Nate McMillan. I have knocked McMillan in the past for his behavior at Indiana, but I will say I think a lot of that had to do with just personnel. I mean, the bench sucked at Indiana. It's a lot better here. It's a lot easier to interchangeable pieces with guys like DeAndre Hunter and Rondo coming off the bench as opposed to Doug McDermott. So McMillan's probably the perfect guy for that team just because he's not really going to get in the way. He's just kind of there. And I never realized. I guess they did hate Lloyd Pierce. weirdly enough. I feel like Lloyd Pierce is like the perfect assistant. He's kind of like Dave Georgia, really. Like put Lloyd Pierce in like a really good team as like the top assistant, and he'll make a really good living, and he'll have a really integral part to the team. You know, some people just aren't meant to be head coaches. They're meant to be like some people are meant to be the boss of a family. They're meant to be the consigliere or the underboss. They don't want to be in control. Some people are Ski Prophet. I think Ski Prophet is a perfect number 2 on a show. You know what I mean? Like I believe that. And that number 2 is the most important part of the show. Shout out to Ski.
Well, I appreciate you.
I
know one coach who's not good. Another one. Okay. Luke Walton.
Oh, so. Yeah, Luke's and we can fade Luke here.
There you go.
Luke is brutal. Does he have any say in anything? If you were an NBA player and Luke Walton walked up to you, would you say like, "Oh yeah, I agree, Luke, thanks"?
I wouldn't care too much. I mean, I would listen, but
speaking of goofy NBA players, because Luke was a goofy player, did you see that TikTok going around of that guy at it was like a run and shoot place where they like just play games all day and all night? Like one of those 24-hour fitness type of places. And this dude, he was probably like 20s. He sees Brian Scalabrine at the gym and like walks up and is like, "Yo, I'll bet you my shoes I beat you 1-on-1." Bro, let me ask you a question. Do you realize he's an NBA player or was an NBA player for years? How are you just going to come in off the street and beat Brian Scalabrine? Kid got crushed. I don't think he scored.
Of course.
Brian Scalabrine like destroyed the kid.
Hey, I can tell you an experience for myself. Like I played basketball all my life. I played with some couple notable people. Like I played against James Harden, et cetera, those really good players. But one time, pick up basketball in Los Angeles at Pan Pacific Park, if you're familiar. Gennaro Pargo comes in. We're like, all right, we're going to see. He's not doing nothing in the NBA. We got him. Dude, he's killing everybody in the gym, myself included. Snatched my ankles, hit a 3 on me. I said, you know what? Y'all guard him. I'm not guarding him anymore.
People don't realize they're way better than everyone else. It's like these people. Like I had someone, I did a Periscope last night. I haven't done a Periscope in a while. Somebody came in and said, what would the line be for the Rockets against Gonzaga right now? And I said, like, it's just, people always bring that up. Oh, the Rockets are so bad, but they're still NBA players. That 2 years or 3 years of being in the NBA over the West Coast Conference is huge. It's you level up, man, as they say. And another thing, these young kids today, stop disrespecting NBA, NFL. Like these videos, these kids going around of calling out Cam Newton and like, yo, stay in your lane. You're some goofy high school dude. Stop.
Yeah, that one was really goofy. He's at Cam Newton's camp. Like, why are you even there if you don't think he's good?
Young people have no respect nowadays, man. They just don't care. Listen, if an older dude walks in that has some clout, like I'm gonna respect them at the end of it. That's just normal. You show me respect, I'll show you respect. What are you doing going at his head? You're at his camp. All right, one more game here. Sorry, 2 more games here. The Clippers -5.5 headed on the road to the Alamo Dome to take on the Spurs. Total 220.5. By the way, one of the most underrated arenas in all of sports, the Alamo Dome. Beautiful. Love the Alamo Dome. I was at the Final Four a couple years ago. We went to Blackjack Fletcher and I went to I actually played the Clippers, I believe. Beautiful stadium. Love the Alamo Dome. Very clean. Seats are great. Love the Alamo Dome. Kind of lean under here, Ski, a little bit. We know that the Clippers are very slow. Defensively, they've obviously improved a little bit from where they were last year. Spurs, very old school offensively, as we say. They want to put their head down and get to the basket, don't shoot a ton of threes. Any thoughts on Spurs, Clippers here?
Yeah, this is I said one game was my least favorite. This is my second least favorite. San Antonio, they're probably going to have some guys move at the deadline. I mean, DeRozan, Aldridge, we could see either one of those guys go. They're also missing, I think, in this game, Lonnie Walker. So a few guys missing for San Antonio. Clippers, I prefer to have them at home than on the road. But just in a game where, when a guy gets traded or somebody gets traded like that, I think that they won't really care about the game tonight. So for that reason, I lean towards the Clippers. And with those guys out, I think it could be more of an under type game. And like I said, my second least favorite game.
It's definitely a different mindset around deadline stuff, especially if, really only for just a few teams, the sellers, the teams that we don't really know where they're going. It's almost like the last week of high school, you just don't care. I mean, nothing's really going to happen to you. You're not probably going to be there anyway. You're not going to be there anyway in a week. So, and no one really knows. It's a little different because nobody
Look at
knows.
the Lakers. The Lakers, they know somebody's getting moved, and look how they played the other day.
Listen, I'm going to say this. You mentioned DeRozan. If I'm, who I would, if I were a team to get him, I said this beginning of the year, Dallas should try to get DeRozan.
I can see that. He could fit over there. He'll be a nice addition over there.
Yeah, I think they're pretty weak at the 3, 4. I think he would be ideal there. I think he would do well in Dallas, and I think that makes them, instantly back, into the swing of things. Not that they're not in the swing of things. Yeah, not much in this game. Just kind of one of those games I skipped over. Didn't have much on. Next game, Jazz laying 10 at home against the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn getting a lot of points, boatload of points here, total 229.5. Listen, Ski, at the end of the day, you know who shoots the best shooting percentage in the league? Brooklyn. You know who the best against the spread team is outside of the Suns? Utah. Public love Utah. And I know you mentioned how good teams are at laying double digits this year. It's come in, but look, obviously there's something about this number. Someone's is Harden out in this game? I don't have any info on that yet.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. I'm going on a little mini rant. But yesterday, everybody was saying Harden's going to sit. He's looking like he's going to sit. He's hurting his neck. Dude, has Harden sat in the Nets uniform yet? Until he sits, I'm just going to stop. Like just the same as LeBron. LeBron only sat the one game before All-Star. Until he starts to sit, I'm not going to guess that he's sitting. I think
one thing about Harden, man, he's all business, man. You might think he's rather be at the strip club, which he loves. He loves strip clubs, but when it's time to play basketball, he plays basketball. At the end of the day, he does what he's got to do, and he's always going to give you something. I think still, if I'm going to get 10 here, I'll take the shot that he plays, and I'll just jump on the net. It's too many points. It's just that simple. I don't want to bet on the Utah Jazz in this spot. I know how good they are against the number, and they might win, 119, 107, but I'll lean on the Nets. I'll grab the 10. I think they can hang around offensively, and I think Harden will play.
Yeah, okay, I agree. I think Harden does play, and as long as he plays, I'm interested. I mean, he's MVP consideration. He's been doing everything for the Nets. I don't care if Kyrie plays. All I want is Harden in the lineup. He's played.
But I will say this, okay, and I've told you this before. I think normal gamblers, normal bettors put way too much stock into one player. So if Harden is out tonight, so be it. Whatever. I'll lean on 10 and just say, you know what? I'm getting double digits in the NBA with the best 2-point offense in the league as far as shooting's concerned. I'll take my chances. I know I'm not going to be on the square side, So I haven't looked, but I guarantee sharp money's on the Nets. At least I would think they are.
Yeah, that overreaction angle, it works in football, it works in basketball. And the Nets, they've covered 5 of their 6 games as a dog. They've won or covered 9 of their 12 games versus competition. 55% win teams are better. The Jazz, like you said, the point spread thing is not going to continue long term. I'm a seller on the Jazz. They've only covered 2 of their last 8 games, and it's another team on a flat spot. 5 or more game road trip coming back to the house. I would be looking to grab the points with Brooklyn. I agree.
Yeah, and as we wrap up our game breakdowns, we're out of games. I really think this is a good spot. I like the Nets. I think that's a great pick tonight. What else are we looking at here? I think obviously Phoenix makes a whole lot of sense laying 10. It's hard to step in front of that group right now. And I think we have to go back. You have to go back to the well with Detroit. Indiana has some questionable numbers as a favorite. I'm not really looking to back them in this kind of role. And for any rate, is Detroit good? No, but nobody backs them, and they're actually pretty good against the number. They're not a good straight-up team, but they hang around and cover games. So what's your what do you love on this card, G?
Well, we agree on all of those. So if I have to play or say one that I've already bet, out of all of those, the one that I've already bet is Detroit. Not saying that I won't bet the others, but action I already have in my pocket is Detroit plus the 6.
Well, I'll be honest. I just bet them. I'm on Detroit plus 6. I'm on the Nets plus 10. And I'm on the Phoenix Suns minus 10 over at FanDuel. Make sure you're checking out FanDuel right now. A lot of great promos, but FanDuel has some of the best. If you're in a qualifying state, make sure you're checking out FanDuel. Truly one of the best books in the business. And I will say this. I go to FanDuel brick and mortar books, Philadelphia Live. They have a great FanDuel book. Really great. Put a lot of money into their books. They look nice. They're sharp. They're sleek. And the service is always good. So make sure you're checking out FanDuel, whether it's in person or online. Check out the app now. Truly one of the titans in the business. All right, so there you go. 3 plays. We gave you all the games. There are some games that are not as interesting. We'll see what's up with Giannis. We'll see what Toronto looks like. Is there one last stand in this group? I'm going to guess probably not, but that number just seems a little shaky to me.
It is definitely. It should be higher.
It really should be. So let's rock with 3. Let's go Detroit plus the 6 against Indiana. Let's go with Phoenix minus 10 against the awful Orlando Magic, and Brooklyn plus the 10. Brooklyn. I got Biggie in the background. Shout out Biggie. So let's.
We can do Luka too if you want. Luka points over.
Oh, that's true. Yes, our prop pick, Luka Doncic, the kid from the Balkans, Luka Doncic, over 29.5. That was a great pool by Ski Profit. And shout out to, I believe, Picks-wise tomorrow, we're going to have for a short segment, the NBA prop guy who is, from what I understand, very efficient at the prop market. So we'll see what he has to say tomorrow. We'll be back same time, same place. Ski Profit and I here on Picks-wise tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. For Ski, it's a little earlier, 6 a.m. Eastern. We'll break down the NBA card again. We'll recap a little bit of what we saw last night and look towards the Sweet 16. I know Thursday, tomorrow, there's some NIT games, so maybe I'll take the last couple of minutes to go over the NIT. But other than that, we hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. As always, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. The channel is growing, a lot more content coming, so make sure you check it out. I'm the big man on campus. He's Ski Profit. We'll see you Thursday here on the Hoops Betting Hour with me, the big man on campus. See you later.